No matter how much you think you know about dinosaurs and prehistoric beasts, we bet you're still missing a huge part of the story, unless you're an actual paleontologist, of course. For most of us, everything we know about that era comes from stuff like Jurassic Park. And while that movie's a goat, it definitely doesn't cover every wild animal that existed back then. So let's take a minute to show you 15 of the deadliest prehistoric birds you probably had no idea even existed. Number 5. Forest Rassids. Well, this thing didn't earn the nickname terror birds for nothing. These towering, flightless predators roamed South America for over 60 million years and became dominant land hunters. Standing up to 10 feet tall and equipped with brutal hooked beaks, they weren't graceful, they were monsters. They didn't fly, but they ran fast, really fast, and their kills weren't clean. These birds would sprint, strike with bone-breaking force, and use their neck muscles like weapons. Their attacks weren't bites, they were jabs, slams, and stomps. Talons ripped, beaks stabbed, and prey didn't last long. Some scientists believe they could take down animals nearly their own size. They weren't scavengers, they were apex predators. They ruled until new mammals arrived from the north and shifted the food chain. After surviving for millions of years, terror birds finally bowed out less than 2 million years ago. Not because they got weak, but because they got replaced. That's the reality of Mother Nature's throne. It never stays occupied for very long. Number 14. Polyornis Sander Z. If you looked up 25 million years ago and saw this monster cruising overhead, you'd probably freeze in place. With wings stretching over 24 feet, twice the wingspan of today's wandering albatross, this bird dominated the open skies. Fossils first uncovered near Charleston, South Carolina, revealed just how absurdly oversized this species was. Despite its size, it wasn't clumsy. A lightweight skeleton helped it glide for miles along the coastlines of prehistoric North America, soaring over oceans with almost zero effort. And its teeth. Technically, they were bony projections lining its beak, perfect for grabbing slippery prey from the sea. Well, think airborne predator with glide mode permanently switched on. Scientists believe it fed mostly on fish and squid, plucking them from the surface while barely flapping. It didn't need speed, it had reach. The size alone makes it one of the most extreme flying birds ever recorded. Polyornis didn't just fly, it ruled the skies like it had no competition because at the time it really didn't. Number 13. Archopterix. Archopterix wasn't just another prehistoric bird, it was a turning point in the evolution of flight. Dating back about 150 million years to the late Jurassic, it had features from both dinosaurs and birds. It had feathers and a bony tail, claws on its wings, and sharp teeth. In other words, it was roughly the size of a raven. While it probably didn't soar and sing like today's birds, it could glide short distances, especially between trees. What makes Archopterix iconic isn't how it hunted or moved, it's what it revealed about evolution. It was a literal missing link, showing how traits from theropod dinosaurs carried forward into birds we know today. Fossils were first found in Germany in the 1800s, and ever since, this species has been one of the most studied and debated in paleontology. Despite the hype, it wasn't dominant or especially powerful. It simply existed at a crossroads in time. A blueprint with feathers. Its wings were new, its bones were old, and its story is still shaping our understanding of life on Earth. Number 12. Hesperornis. Life in the oceans during the late Cretaceous wasn't all about marine reptiles. Hesperornis was out there too, doing its thing. This prehistoric bird, which lived between 85 to 65 million years ago, traded in wings for flipper-like limbs and took full advantage of the water. Reaching up to 5 feet in length, it moved more like a penguin than anything that flies today. What set it apart was a long, narrow beak packed with sharp teeth, a rare feature among birds. Hesperornis was no gentle paddler. It hunted fish and smaller marine life with precision. Its dense bones and reduced wings meant it wasn't built for flight, but it could dive deep and move fast underwater. Fossils found in North America and Europe show how well it adapted to life beneath the waves, coexisting with marine reptiles and outswimming many of them. It didn't just float through history, it swam hard, hunted harder, and proved that being a bird didn't always mean taking to the skies. Number 11. ArgentavisMagnificence. This cutie was an absolute monster of the sky. Found in Miocene-era South America, this bird might have weighed between 330 and 400 pounds, with a wingspan pushing past 23 feet. That puts it in the same weight class as a small lion, with wings. It belonged to the Territoriornis, a group of ancient birds that weren't just big, they were sky-high scavengers. Unlike hawks or falcons that dive for prey, it relied more on its eyes than its claws, scanning the land for carcasses while coasting on thermal air currents. Its bones suggest it wasn't built for flapping, so soaring was the go-to move. Gliding from thermal to thermal, it could cover crazy distances without breaking a sweat. It was a low-effort, high-reward kind of predator. This wasn't a bird that hunted like modern eagles. It floated, waited, and fed on the already dead. Still, if one flew overhead, you wouldn't be feeling chill. You'd be ducking. This was a bird that turned the sky into its turf. Number 10. Elephant birds. Madagascar was once home to some of the heaviest birds Earth has ever known, and this was one of them. Elephant birds belong to the order Apiornithoformes, and they can reach over 10 feet tall and weigh around 1,600 pounds. These giants didn't fly, and they didn't at all. Their size alone kept predators in check. Despite the intimidating bulk, they were vegetarian, roaming the island's forests and wetlands in search of fruits, seeds, and foliage. Their legs were thick and powerful, built for slow, steady movement rather than bursts of speed. Compared to their huge bodies, their heads were tiny, but that didn't stop them from thriving. For thousands of years, they were left alone until humans arrived. By roughly 1,000 years ago, the elephant birds had vanished. Habitat loss, hunting, and egg collection all contributed to their extinction, along with the introduction of invasive species like rats. What's wild is how recent their disappearance was. In the grand scope of time, these birds were practically here yesterday, and now they're just bones in the ground. Number 9. Kelankan. Kelankan stood out even among terror birds. This prehistoric predator was found in Argentina, and it lived roughly 15 million years ago. Even after so many centuries, it remains one of the most physically intimidating flightless birds ever discovered. At nearly 10 feet tall with a 28-inch skull, it holds the record for the largest known bird head, longer than most people's torsos. But this wasn't just a big head on legs. The bird's sharp, downturned beak could cause serious trauma with a single blow. Fossil analysis suggests it didn't just rely on its beak. It was fast, agile, and capable of delivering brutal, repeated strikes. Its build suggests it went after mid-sized mammals, possibly using short bursts of speed to close in and overpower its target. Kelankan didn't need wings. It had raw force, big, long legs, and a predator's mindset. Unlike its smaller modern cousins, this one wasn't running from predators. It was the thing you ran from. And once it locked eyes on something worth chasing, the outcome wasn't going to be pretty. Number 8. Jolornis. Well, we are just sad for Diodo, but let's talk about this. Jolornis might not have looked intimidating, but it's one of the oldest known birds to have taken flight. Found in northeastern China and dating back around 120 million years, it had a strange mix of features, part dinosaur, part bird, all transitional. Its long tail was a throwback to its reptilian roots, while its feathered wings gave it limited flying ability. At about 20 inches long, Jolornis wasn't large, but its skeleton reveals a creature built for bursts of aerial movement, not sustained flight. Its sharp, tooth-lined beak suggests it wasn't a strict vegetarian, though it likely fed on seeds, insects, or small prey. Fossils are so well preserved that they show feather details, helping researchers understand the early stages of avian evolution. It wasn't advanced enough to be fully bird-like, but it was more than a gliding dinosaur. Jolornis stood on the blurry line between two worlds. Its wings weren't graceful, but they worked, and that's what made all the difference in its era. Number 7. Drammorous. Drammorous wasn't just big, it was ridiculous. Native to prehistoric Australia, this bird lived from around 26 million to 50,000 years ago and was part of a group often called thunderbirds. It could hit 10 feet in height and weighed close to 1,000 pounds. These birds had huge, heavy heads and massive, crushing beaks. Their legs were built like tree trunks, perfect for running and possibly stomping if needed. Despite their terrifying build, Drammorous was likely herbivorous, feeding on fruits, leaves, and roots. It wasn't related to modern-day emus or ostriches, though it shared the flightless design. It came from a separate branch of weird, ancient Australian giants. Drammorous didn't last long after humans arrived. With habitat damage, hunting, and the usual human chaos, it vanished around 50,000 years ago. We didn't just meet these birds, we helped erase them. Their extinction was typical of what happens when humans and megafauna collide. No mystery here, just another big creature that didn't make it past us. Alright, now, let's move to number 6. Brunttonis Marami. Brunttonis was more heavyweight brawler than a stealthy hunter. Roaming South America during the Miocene, somewhere between 5 and 15 million years ago, this bird could grow up to 9 feet tall and weigh around 880 pounds. That's not just big for a bird, that's big, period. Its name means thunderbird, and based on its mass, it lived up to that. There's debate among researchers about whether Brunttonis was a predator or a scavenger, but either way, it wasn't a bird you messed with. We mean, just look at it. It had thick, sturdy legs made for walking rather than sprinting, and a skull suggesting it was capable of doing serious damage, whether through biting or simply bulldozing through whatever got in its way. Its beak wasn't designed for slicing, but it could crush and grind. No confirmed wingspan exists because wings weren't really part of the package. It couldn't fly, didn't try to, and probably didn't care. It's one of the largest flightless birds ever known, and one of the last you'd want to see charging at you. We just love this cutie. Number 5. Territoriornis Marami. The skies over Ice Age North America weren't exactly peaceful, and Territoriornis Marami, also ferociously known as Merriam's Territorn, made sure of that. Soaring above mammoths, ground sloths, and saber-toothed cats, this bird was built for cleanup. With a wingspan around 12 feet and weight estimates reaching 30 pounds, it towered over today's vultures. But this wasn't just a bigger version of a scavenger, it was smarter and better equipped. Fossil evidence suggests it was a pro at spotting carcasses from great heights and could land with precision to tear through even thick-skinned remains. Its strong legs and large beak meant it might have also hunted small prey when the opportunity came up. Unlike eagles, it wasn't built for high-speed attacks, but it didn't need to be. It played the long game, finding food before rivals, eating fast and moving on. Territoriornis didn't go extinct until around 10,000 years ago, meaning humans likely saw it firsthand. That's wild to think about, walking under skies shared with a bird this big. Number 4. Quetzalcoatlus northropi. Quetzalcoatlus didn't just stretch the limits of what a flying animal could be, it shattered them. Living around 68 to 66 million years ago in what is now North America, this Terasaur boasted an estimated wingspan between 33 and 36 feet. It was the size of a small aircraft, yet its bones were hollow and light enough for powered flight. With a long, stiff neck and sharp, toothless beak, it is likely hunted by stalking prey on land or snapping up fish while gliding low over water. Despite its massive frame, it wasn't sluggish. Studies suggest it could take off under its own power, flap its wings to gain altitude, and then glide for miles. Fossils unearthed in Texas confirmed its place as one of the largest flying creatures of all time. Its skeleton tells the story of a sky-hunting predator that didn't need claws or fangs to terrify, just size, silence, and precision. There's nothing alive today that even comes close, and that's probably a good thing. Number 3. Titanis Weri. Titanis wasn't delicate, and it certainly wasn't subtle. Standing nearly 8 feet tall and built like a linebacker with feathers, it was one of North America's last known terror birds. Unlike many of its South American cousins, Titanis showed up relatively late, around 5 million years ago, and lasted into the Pleistocene. Fossils found in Texas and Florida paint the picture of a predator that didn't care for finesse. It couldn't fly, but it didn't need to. With long legs and a crushing beak, Titanis could pursue and tackle prey in open terrain. Its arms, although reduced, were likely strong enough to help manipulate or hold onto victims while its beak did the work. It arrived during the Great American Interchange, when species crossed between continents, and it was clearly ready to compete. But mammals soon took over, and birds like Titanis faded out. Not because they got weaker, but because the game changed. For a while though, this bird absolutely owned the field. Number 2. Hatsagopterix Tambe. Hatsagopterix was less about flight and more about domination. Found in modern-day Romania and dating to around 70 million years ago, this Archopterix Terasaur had a wingspan estimated between 33 and 39 feet. But it's what it did on the ground that made it terrifying. With a massive neck thicker than most others in its group, and a reinforced skull built like a battering ram, Hatsagopterix likely hunted large prey on foot. It wasn't a passive glider, it was a ground-stalking carnivore. Paleontologists believe it roamed an isolated ecosystem, giving it top-tier predator status without much competition. Its strong neck muscles and crushing beak could handle bone, making it a threat to small dinosaurs and anything else unlucky enough to get close. Flight may have helped it travel, but it wasn't soaring just for fun. Hatsagopterix brought the terror from the air to the ground, combining brute strength with strategic power. And when it vanished, it left behind bones and a legacy that's still hard to process. Number 1. Hostis Eagle. The Hostis Eagle once ruled New Zealand's South Island like a flying war machine. Weighing over 30 pounds and sporting a wingspan of up to 10 feet, it remains the largest eagle ever recorded. These birds weren't picking off rabbits. They were taking down full-grown moa, flightless birds that could weigh more than 500 pounds. Maori stories tell of massive birds capable of killing people, and paleontologists believe those tales probably came from real encounters with this beast. Its talons were the size of tiger claws, and once it struck, it didn't give a second chance. It would grip, tear, and let the bleeding do the rest. There were no other top predators in its ecosystem, so it sat at the top without competition until humans showed up. After moa were hunted into extinction, Hostis Eagle didn't stand a chance. With no food left and humans moving in, it vanished around 1400 AD. It didn't go down fighting. It just had nothing left to fight for. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your buddies, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.